We will get to know about ophthalmoscopy through this video. Ophthalmoscopy is the examination of pupil at internal surface of the back of the eye, and it was introduced over 150 years ago. It remains an important skill because it will help you to diagnose not only intrinsic eye pathology but also systemic diseases through their ocular manifestations. The principal aim of this video is to teach you how to perform ophthalmoscopy using the direct ophthalmoscope. We are going to divide up this task into 3 stages. To start, we will show you how the instrument works and explain its controls. Next, we will take you through how to set it up and align it so that you get a good view of the red reflex. And finally, we will show you how to systematically examine back of the eye or ocular fundus. Although the direct ophthalmoscope was invented by Helmholtz in 1850, aside from some optical refinements, the same principle of operation apply to the current range of instruments. There is a mirror that reflects the light into the eye, a central viewing hole through which the eye is examined, together with an adjustable lens wheel to clearly focus the image. There are 3 basic controls that are common to all modern ophthalmoscopes regardless of their design. Firstly, there is an on-off switch. This also controls the brightness of the light and is usually found on the top of the handle. Second control is for light aperture. It is usually found on the front of the instrument's that dial or small lever. It allows you a choice of different shapes and sizes of apertures. This choice usually includes slit as well as green or blue filters. Thirdly, a lens wheel which adjusts the focus. This is mounted in the head of the instrument and carries a graduated range of lens powers around its edge. Dialing this wheel clockwise increases the lens power. This moves the focal point nearer the observer. Conversely, anti-clockwise rotation effectively decreases the power of the intervening lens, which moves the focal point further away from the observer. So you should now have a clear idea of how the instrument works and how to use the 3 controls. Let's move on to see how to use your ophthalmoscope for examining the red reflex and then the ocular fundus. Think of this in a sequence of 3 steps. Preparation of the ophthalmoscope followed by the preparation of the patient and finally examination of the eye. To prepare the ophthalmoscope, turn it on and check its working. Select the large round aperture for illumination and finally rotate the focusing wheel so that it is set to 0. The instrument is now ready to use. Next, preparing the patient. Get them sitting comfortably before you begin. Ideally, you should dilate both pupils to get a clear view. 1% tropicamide is given a quarter of an hour before and is safe and usually adequate for this. If the patient wears glasses, then generally they are better removed because they often produce reflections and artifacts and they can be physically awkward during the examination. However, if they are particularly high powered, then it can be helpful to leave them on because your ophthalmoscope lenses alone may not be powerful enough to neutralize a high refractive error. With the ophthalmoscope and patient are now prepared, you are set to proceed with ophthalmoscopy. To keep their eyes steady, you will need to give the monadic straight ahead that they can gaze out with one eye while you are examining the other. Use your right eye and right hand to examine the patient's right eye and vice versa for the left. You can gently place your other hand on their brow. This will help you to steady yourself and also enables you to lift their upper lid when you need to. Now shine the light into the pupil and observe the red reflex. The red reflex you see is the same phenomena as the red eye seen in flash photos. It is simply the reflection of the ophthalmoscope light at back of the choroidal vessels. In practice, it is very useful for assessing the clarity of ocular media. Any opacity such as a corneal scar, a cataract or vitreous hemorrhage are backlit by the red reflex and silhouetted in the pupil. If the opacity is particularly dense, then the red reflex will be abolished together. Having looked at the red reflex, you are now ready to examine the fundus. To do this, Align yourself about 15 degrees temporal to the visual axis and you will be approximately in the line with the optic disc. In this position, keep the red reflex in view and slowly move towards the patient. Drag the lens wheel clockwise as you do so to stay in focus as you get nearer. Your primary aim is to identify the optic disc and keep it in focus using the lens wheel. Having found the disc, what you do next? Well, you use it as your reference point, a sort of base camp for exploration of the rest of the fundus. Look in turn at its margin, its color, and its central cup. A healthy optic nerve head is an orange-pink color with a clear disc margin and has a central cup from which the vessels emerge. Having examined the disc, go on now to look at the major blood vessels as they radiate out from it and form a four vascular arcades that supply the quadrants of the fundus. You can examine each area under view by asking the patient to look towards the quadrant that you want to examine. For example, look up to right brings the upper right quadrant into the view. In order to examine both the lower quadrants, the lid has to be lifted up as the patient looks down. As the final part of ophthalmoscopy, you should examine the central retina lying inside the vascular arcades. It contains the macular region and the centrally located fovea. To bring the fovea under view, simply ask the patient to look directly at your light. Some patients will find this difficult to tolerate, which is why it is best left until the last. You have now completed your examination, having outlined benefits of this technique. You should also be aware of its two principal limitations. The first is that the high magnification and small field of view mean that you have to build a collage of the whole fundus in your visual memory and then mentally stitch it together. This only becomes reliable with regular practice. Secondly, the direct ophthalmoscope is a monoocular instrument and can therefore only ever give you a flat two-dimensional image. This imposes limits on your accurate judgment of height and depth, which requires stereoscopic vision. So that just about complete the basic tutorial on the use of direct ophthalmoscope. Finally, you should realize that as with any clinical skill, proficiency comes at a cost. You need to practice ophthalmoscopy regularly to develop and maintain the skill, so try and get into the habit of using it routinely as part of your normal examination. As sooner you start, the quicker you will get up to the speed.